Welcome back, guys. Last episode I promised that I would make a room for advanced genetics off camera, and I'm going to start out by delivering to you. Wow, you might say. It's an abomination. Look at those pipes. Okay, so unfortunately, this seems to be the necessary way to do this. Well, I'm sure there's probably a better way. This is what I came up with, though. It is pretty insane. So the issue is that these machines take input from the left side or the top side and output from the right side or the bottom side. So instead of, I don't know, if you were to set these up just by themselves, they'd either take up a huge amount of space horizontally, because you just have to put them in a row, or they'd kind of move diagonally. So I do some interesting little things with my item ducts here, but I think the layout works well enough. Certainly I've been using it quite a bit. So I'll show you how this works. I don't have any skin cells on me at the moment, but the scraped skin for advanced genetics will start here, and I even have, we can't see it at the moment, but on the back of this I have an export bus, meaning if I put any skin samples into our applied energistics system, it will export them to this filing cabinet. The filing cabinet is a block added by Extra Utilities. It can store a great number of items, but only if they have the same item ID. So if we look at advanced genetics, we can tell that all of the skin scales will have the same item ID because there's only one entry for them here in NEI. So they enter here, they immediately get pushed down to the DNA analyzer. The DNA analyzer analyzes them. Then they get put, so this is when they become cells. They get put into the instructor to become helices. Then they come up here and are decrypted in the decryptor. After that, they end up in this filing cabinet, and I have the ability to control this item duct with this lever. What this means is if I'm looking to find a specific trait, I can store all of my helices here and pick out the traits I want that end up here. If I pick out a trait, let's say I picked out jumping, which we looked at last episode, I can take it here to the DNA splitter. This is the exact same machine we used last episode. I'll put it here, I'll select the jump trait on the left here, get my jump trait. Then, as we did last episode, put it in the breeder, get enough enough additional genes into it so that I hit the threshold, and then I do the whole thing to get it into my blood. You know, taking one of these syringes, centrifuging it, adding the syringe and the gene here in the combiner, centrifuging it again, and injecting it into me. Okay, we did that last episode. The cool thing about this setup is that if I am not interested in getting a specific gene, or I just need to clear out all the genes I don't want, I can put it through the DNA auto splitter. So if I turn this lever on, every helix will end up in the auto splitter, which will automatically turn everything into a basic gene. And you can remember these are used to fill in the genes to complete them. Okay, cool. So that covers these machines, and then I just have a barrel up here to put these organic drops that get produced by the system, because I don't really use them much, but I need to get rid of them for the machines to keep running. Okay, over here I have just an extra filing cabinet. Doesn't have anything in it at the moment. If I wanted to store extra cells, I could just turn this item duct off and pull them out and put them in here as they get made by the analyzer. The cells are useful for some processes, and for making a lot of these blocks I needed cells. On top of it is a microscope. It's pretty nifty looking. I actually like it. I haven't used it yet. I believe if you take a sample of your DNA, then maybe you have to centrifuge it. Then you can right-click on the microscope and it will analyze the DNA. Each one of these circles represents a trait that I have in my DNA. As you can see, I got a lot of traits since last we talked. So yeah, then we can click on them. It says I have the no-fall trait. I have the jump trait. I have the resistance trait, etc. And I'm just going to inject myself with this, even though it only has the traits I already have. That's fine. I just wanted to clear out that syringe, which I can keep up here. So that's all of this stuff. That's the stuff we've covered already. The only other things we haven't covered are these 4 machines here. These 2 in the corner are basically used to turn genes into antigenes and then basically remove those genes from my genome, I guess. So this is in case I want to get rid of traits. I've been pretty careful. I'm not expecting to need to get rid of any. These 2 machines are used to spawn mobs. So if I take a skin sample, I guess, from a mob, I think I can use that along with extra bits from other stuff. Yeah, that's very specific. I haven't obviously used these machines before. I don't really intend to at the moment. I just, for completion's sake, put them here in the room. But basically, they allow you to spawn in mobs, and you can give them advanced traits like I have, which is pretty cool. Eventually, if we get into a prank war situation with someone else on the server, maybe it would make sense to spawn in a mob that has advanced traits to make them more awesome. Or, if we wanted to spawn in like an iron golem that was just much tougher than they normally are, this would be the way to do it. Okay, so the question I am sure you are asking is, what traits have I gotten? And I've gotten basically all the important ones. You might be able to tell I am running faster than I did previously. I got the speed trait from an ocelot. I also got the scare creepers trait, so creepers will now run away from me, which is pretty awesome. Last episode we got no fall, so I said we've got speed. I actually got the eat grass trait. I'll show you once I'm a little hungry what that can do. It's good in a pinch, but it gives no saturation, so it's not optimal. I've got the jump. We got that last episode. I have the water breathing trait, and I can now stay underwater infinitely. I got the teleporter trait. Let's see that one. So I have infinite free ender pearls now, although I still use my staff of traveling because that allows me to go through walls. I have the save your inventory trait. This trait's pretty cool. It comes from Enderman, and what it means is if I die, all the items I have on my person will end up here in this ender chest, called a death ender chest, which is really cool. It means the only penalty for dying now is I lose my levels. Pretty neat. I can swim in lava. Let me show you that. I take no damage now from fire or lava. This is super helpful in the Nether, for example. But yeah, I can just sit here. This trait, this single trait, is the real reason why I went into advanced genetics when I did. Yeah, I got that from a zombie pigman, and I could not be happier. I also have resistance from a regular zombie. That makes it so I take less damage from other sources. I did not get any of the shoot fireballs or explode myself. I also haven't fought a wither yet, so I can't wither things. That's something that once we get ready to fight a wither, we should remember to do. It allows me to add the wither effect to any enemy I hit. And that might be about it. Yeah, the creepers avoid me. I didn't go for climb. What climb would do is make it like spiders. If I ran into this wall, I'd start climbing up it. But I find that in houses, that can be actually really annoying. And I don't need it. I've got other ways to move around. And yes, I've got resistance. So, as you can see, we are much tougher, faster, and just all around awesomer than we were before. You might also have noticed that I cleaned up our courtyard a little bit and changed some of the trees. I didn't really love those dyed trees that were in these corners, so I went ahead and found a witchwood tree. We've seen some of these before. You need to put liquid essence around it for it to grow, and once it grows, it makes some of these alm appear, which is kind of cool. They're pretty. I might move them a little bit, but I think I will keep some of them. And over here, we have the silverwood tree from Thaumcraft. Silverwood tree doesn't have any requirement for liquid essence around it, but like the witchwood tree, makes these shimmer leaf spawn around it, which I think is really cool. And they're both very pretty. They both have little particle effects, sparklies in the case of the silverwood, and occasionally the witchwood will drop a little leaf. Yeah. Aw, that's pretty. I like it. I also cleaned up our fountain. You can see I've got some of these wake bloom in it. I made it actually flowing. To do this, I moved the chunk loader down to the bottom here, and the magnum torch is actually covered by stone brick covers in the middle here. So yeah, I've done a lot of little things off camera. It was loud in my house, so I couldn't record, but I had time to play earlier, so I've done, yeah, a lot of little things. The other thing I did when I made this room for advanced genetics is I ran power all through the walls here. So you can see on Wayla up top there that this is not actually stone bricks, it's a conduit facade. If I bring out my Yeta wrench, you can actually see that I ran conduit all through these walls. It has both power and, there we go, AE access, and it goes all through the back wall here on the second floor, and then it goes down to the first floor, and I have it running to all these machines. So all of them can now be up against the wall. They're not out front. Everything is hooked up to the main power from our big reactor. Eventually, I'm going to cover all this with, it's all going to be spruce wood. So where I had to run the cable under the floor, I used spruce wood facades. I also wired up this room. I'm not doing anything with it yet, but eventually we'll be able to automate this to work in conjunction with the AE system. That's what I am running here, just AE cable. But that will be very helpful. Whew. Okay, that's a lot, and it's not everything. I have been busy. All of it, as I said, was relatively minor stuff, more just like running around doing little tasks than actually big projects. The other thing I did was get some end stone and upgrade our farm here so that these ender lily seeds will grow faster. I made it so we grew wheat in the center, and I put some magic crops, Certus quartz crops over here. These will slowly get me Certus quartz, which, if you'll recall, is used in our AE system, and is a resource that I constantly find myself low on. You might also notice all the crazy particle effects going on around here. The little blue droplets falling down, and occasionally a green one rising. Although I haven't actually seen any green ones yet. Interesting. Those come from these two center blocks. These are flicker habitats. I've mentioned flickers before. They're added by Ars Magica, and they're little mobs that you can... Oh, there was one of the green flicks. They're little mobs that you can spawn with a block and some of the Ars Magica power, the Ethereum. And when you capture them in... Oh, I used all my little jars, but when you capture them in a flicker jar, they become an item. You can then take those and craft with them to make flicker, what are they called? Foci. And each focus does something different, and you put it in one of these habitats, and it will have an effect in the world. On top here, we have the Nature's Bounty flicker focus. That makes all these crops grow slightly faster. Those are the green sparkles. Below that is the, I think it's the Gentle Rains flicker focus, and all that does is hydrate all the blocks in a 6-block radius. So everywhere the blue droplets are falling. I didn't have to do that one. Theoretically, I could have put a water source block there and it would have been the same, but I figured while I was at it, I should go overboard. So yes, our farm is slightly more efficient now, growing a little bit of quartz for us and some wheat. I don't even remember now why I'm growing wheat. It's not like I need a lot of it, but that's fine. I'll replace it with different crops as we go, and I probably won't make a big deal of them either. I might not even mention it in the future, unless I do something really cool. One last thing. I'm pretty sure just one last thing. Forgive me, I went overboard. I've also been playing a little bit more with Ars Magica. What is this, you ask? Well, this is a celestial prism. This is the purified version of the obelisk. And if we put our Magitech goggles on, we can see that this slowly generates the pure essentia, the light blue as opposed to the blue. And when it does so, we can draw it off and use it much as we have used this standard, not essentia, Ethereum. But I did this using a ritual, and I thought it actually looked pretty cool. It was a little bit involved, and I want to show you how it works, but I'm going to show you how it works over here, making the dark Ethereum equivalent. To do that, let's look at our Arcane Compendium. So we will need to do the Ritual of Corruption obelisk. So we have an obelisk in the center there. Oh my. Okay, this one looks a little complicated. Okay, we are going to I need to figure out how that works. So if you look on this one, the obelisk was actually in the center block there, and each of those was diagonal to the obelisk. So if the obelisk is in the center here, okay, it looks like those will be orthogonal to the obelisk. So we will say top and bottom to the obelisk. To make those runes, we use Wizard's Chalk. Okay. So then each of those will get diagonals. We might have to take out part of a wall for this to work. We'll see. Then the diagonals get orthogonals, and then diagonals. So we will definitely need to take out these. I am not sure why the Arcane Compendium doesn't just lay this out from a top-down perspective. This sort of isomorphic perspective makes it really hard to figure out what's going on in these images. Okay, so theoretically, it's diagonal up and then diagonal in. Diagonal up, diagonal in. Okay, this looks like it might be right. And then we need to figure out where to place the candles. The candles are kind of go in the middle here and here. Okay, so if we move all that up, okay, candle here, 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 here. Okay, so now we have everything laid out. What we need to do is throw some blocks in and then cast a spell to activate. The spell we need to cast? Fireball. So I made this spell. It's just a simple projectile fire damage spell. And if I change the mode, I don't think that's my mode key. Anyway, it becomes a touch-based fire damage spell. Okay, so what I need to do is throw a Sunstone and a Monster Focus into the center there, and then cast a fire damage spell. That's pretty neat. Not gonna lie, pretty cool looking. Wow. Okay, now let's see what we're going to add to these. So, to the Celestial Prism, we are going to have blocks of quartz, and then on top of it, something. gold or diamond or moonstone. Blah, blah, blah. Moonstone caps. Switch the prism to charge in night instead of the day. We'll want this to charge during the day, though, because people sleep, so the server is more frequently in the day than the night. Okay, so we're going to need quartz and diamond or gold or glass. And then for the black aurum, nether brick, let's see. So chimerite or obsidian. And sunstone gives a big upgrade. Oh, we will also want to make a wizard's chalk circle around each of these, which will increase the effectiveness. I don't really know how much. Doesn't give numbers as far as I know, but it does. Okay, so we will need quartz, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. Then we will need 8 nether brick. We will want 4 blocks of chimerite because it looks cool. And let's see what we've got in the way of gold. Not enough. Diamond. Ooh. I'm going to go for it, guys. 4 blocks of diamond. Wow, that's pricey. Okay. And I am going to put them at the right structure. Nearly put the nether brick here at the light one, which would not have helped me any. So what's really cool about the celestial prism is that it just generates power during the day. That's how it generates its power. You can see right now it's night, so there's no wavy runes flying around it. But during the day, it will get runes that move around it, and it will generate Ethereum. So if you use it, like, you're basically getting that power for free. You'll recall that the obelisk only generates power when we put this liquid Ethereum in it, which is okay. We've got tons of the stuff, but it's still a hassle to go and manually input it, and some point I might look into whether we can use this space under the pillar, or the obelisk, to pipe in and out the Ethereum. But our room, our Ars Magica room, is nearing completion. We have access now to all 3 of the power generating structures. That's really cool. Off camera, probably, I'll add a battery to each of these. I've got one here already. And I will probably also add some of the power conduits around the room. So Ars Magica adds these Ethereum conduits. They're cheap, and normally one of these structures can only transfer power 10 blocks away, within 10 blocks. Oh, and it's daytime again. You can see the particle effect. It's pretty cool. So I'll add those conduits, and then I can transfer the power all throughout this room. Okay, give me 1 second. I want to show you how this black aurum works, and for that I need to go grab a mob. Be right back. Okay guys, zombie. I made a safari net, captured a zombie, and now you can see what the black aurum derives power from. 55 Ethereum for a zombie. That's not great. But eventually, my plan is to put a mob spawner here in the ceiling or here underneath. And that way, it should generate some constant power for the black aurum. And if I use actually a vanilla mob spawner, it will only do so when we're within 16 blocks, so relatively close. Might be the way to go. The only issue would be lighting, but if I make a little dark room above here and the mobs just fall through, it might work nicely. Anyway, shockingly, to me at least, that's about the wrapping up point. I guess I just blabbed on and on this episode. My apologies. Next episode, I have definite plans. We are going to look into auto crafting, and I think that if you haven't ever looked into applied energistic auto crafting, you're really going to like it. If you have, maybe I'll do something a little bit differently than the way you do. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.